We ran through the offense with you, Marty, and I was just on Michigan podcast this afternoon, and we were looking at the S&P Plus, which I didn't see the list myself, but Steve Dace was running through it, said that Ohio State is a pretty clear number one in the country in S&P Plus. Now, when I look at just key factors coming back to these teams, discarding history, I think that there's a case that can be made that Penn State should be the favorite in the Big Ten.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've said really since the season ended. I mean, again, it's way too early. Things are going to change between now and the end of August. If I had to place a preseason battle right now, I would have Texas and Penn State in some order 1-2. I think that going into the year, based off of what they return, those are probably, at least in my opinion, the two safest bets to win a national championship. And Texas is in the SEC last time I checked. So, yeah, I'm with you. In my opinion, I think Penn State should be the favorite in the Big Ten going into the year. I'm sure a lot of that, fair, unfair, however you want to put it, falls down to the bias, the reputation, whatever you want to say of James Franklin. You know, and I don't think it's fair. I don't think he necessarily gets a fair shake, but at the same time, you are what your record says you are until you prove them otherwise, right? Until you get that win against Ohio State, till you win another Big Ten championship. Two things he had the opportunity to do this year. That's why after that Notre Dame game, I remember saying afterward where I felt terrible for James Franklin because he deserved that. I thought them losing that game had absolutely nothing to do with coaching. Absolutely nothing to do with coaching. And that's what everyone was going to point at. And he really deserved that one. And it got away from them at the end because the quarterback tried to do a little bit too much. But yeah, I think going into the year, if I had to make a pick, I would pick Penn State as a favorite to win the Big Ten. I'll probably pick them to win the Big Ten going into the year. And again, that's no knock on Ohio State. That's no knock on Oregon. But Ohio State lost their quarterback and almost their entire defense. Oregon loses their quarterback and loses a lot. And again, Drew Aller, there's faults with his game. There's no doubts about it. But how often in football is it the team that returns the quarterback, right? And Penn State doesn't just return the quarterback. They return the quarterback that might go 1-1 in the draft next year. I mean, there's areas Drew needs to improve. He's the first person to tell you that. But there's things he can do that, they don't make a lot like Drew Aller, right? The God-given ability he has is something that not a lot of people on this planet have when it comes to throwing a football. So I think that combined with the fact that their offensive line could be one of the best in the country this year, probably the best in the Big Ten, and then you give them the backs that they have, I would pick them as my favorite going into the year to win the Big Ten, one of my 2 or 3 favorites to win the national championship. But I even say that with a little reservation, and anyone who has it, I understand, because, again, I think James Franklin is a tremendous football coach. I think he should have a better reputation with some than he does. But until you prove people wrong, you are going to be what your record says you are. And his record against top 5 teams is what it is, and he's had opportunities to improve it. This year included a golden opportunity to beat Notre Dame. A couple turnovers hurt them against Oregon, and they just couldn't quite get the job done. And that's not always on coaching, but I understand why people, kind of have those reservations and may still pick an Ohio State or an Oregon over them going into the year.
Please like and subscribe right here, folks. Check out Marty's work, Penn State Rivals. You see his X handle there as well, breaking down the Penn State defense for us. We already knocked out the offense, so those clips are available as well. Marty, appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely, Mark. It's nice to have some actual real football to talk about a little bit. One of the best times or best things about this time of year.